The King's Avatar, Chapter 1389 Everyone's Preparations, audio source, wusharworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1389, Everyone's Preparations. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. After uttering this pensive sentence, Wei Chen actually didn't say anything else. Everyone thought for a moment, and realized that he had already spoken of the details, and this was just the concluding sentence. They'd been watching the match for over an hour now, and hadn't seen Wei Chen or Steamed Bun during that whole time. Perhaps the two of them had just been sitting here beside the road, with Wei Chen describing the Qing days of his youth. Soul? What soul? It was just 2 years. Ye Zhu came up and mercilessly exposed him. Bullshit. Wei Chen spun around, but when he saw it was Ye Zhu, he was actually quite calm. Without me, would there even be a blue rain? Wei Chen wasn't exaggerating here. He, like Ye Zhu, entered the Glory Circle when the Professional Glory Alliance still hadn't existed yet. In the beginning, they were all simply ordinary gamers. The only way to make a living through gaming was through some transactions in-game. At the time, Ye Zhu's guild was Excellent Dynasty, but he hadn't been the one to create that guild. The person who'd created the guild at the time probably had no idea that it would lay the foundation for Club Excellent Era to establish a dynasty. At the start, Guild Excellent Dynasty was like any other in-game guild, created by an ordinary player who'd pulled together some in-game friends to make a fun group that would allow them to play together. As they played, some groups became larger and larger, and after the Glory Alliance was first established, a few of these guilds became the in-game foundation for clubs and teams. Excellent Dynasty was like this, Blue Brook Guild was like this too. What was different was that the founder of the guild Excellent Dynasty, Tao Xuan, went on to become the boss of the club it formed the basis of. For Blue Rain, there were other investors, but the foundational guild had truly been established by their first captain Wei Chen, when he still played in-game. Without him, there would be no Blue Rain. This statement wasn't an exaggeration. Tomorrow, if you guys can't even beat my juniors, that would be too embarrassing, Wei Chen said, glaring at the happy players. To leave behind his old team and then have to fight them, for most people, this was a rather sad thing. But Wei Chen had taken 8 whole years to complete this process. 8 years. What feelings did he still have toward Blue Rain? Even though most of his talk about his glorious days in Blue Rain was nothing more than shameless boasting, everyone could tell from the old guy's voice how he missed the past. Did he miss his youth? Or did he miss Blue Rain? No one asked further, because everyone knew, no matter what attitude Wei Chen had toward the past, he was now a member of Happy, and he stood clearly on Happy's side. Tomorrow, let's play well, Ye Zhu said. Let's go. Together at the side of the road, the youths cheered and hollered. Where's Fang Rui? Quote. After everyone calmed down a bit, Ye Zhu casually asked. Haven't seen that guy, Wei Chen said. Everyone had their own ways of preparing for the match, so what was this master of playing dirty doing? Everyone was curious, but no one would bother him simply out of curiosity. Upper Forest Park neighborhood. It was already somewhat late, but there were still a number of people out and about, walking dogs or simply enjoying the night air. Su Mucheng and Tang Rou sat together on a stone bench beside the road, tilting their heads to look at the sky. The weather today was really nice. How come there aren't any stars at night? Su Mucheng said. The stars are always there, but sadly, there's just too much air pollution. It's not that there aren't any, it's just that we can't see them. Or it might be because the starlight is too faint, and the lights from the cities are hiding their light. Tang Rou said. Yeah, it's really a shame. Su Mucheng sighed. By the way, Tang Rou suddenly said, the first time you played in the playoffs, how did you feel? The first time, I was very nervous, very worried. Worried that I couldn't do well enough, worried that I couldn't help him, said Soo Mu-chung. Then what about later? Tang Rou didn't ask who him was, it was very obvious. Later. It was true, I didn't do well. If I'd done better, then that year Excellent Era probably would have been champions again. Han Wenking lost to Ye Xiu 3 times in 3 playoffs. But that time he won, because he gained a good helper at his side. And Ye Xiu didn't. Soo Mu-chung's expression became somewhat saddened. Tang Rou suddenly regretted her words. She'd forgotten that Soo Mu-chung had won second place the first time she'd participated in the playoffs. This seemed to be a very good result, so close to the championship, but in reality it was extremely painful. That feeling of missing success by just one step, it was enough to make anyone collapse. Regret, self-blame, no result could provoke these feelings as much as a second place, almost success could. I'm sorry, said Tang Rou. Don't worry, it's a long time ago now, said Soo Mu-chung. Was it a long time? Tang Rou couldn't help but wonder. That time, the championship had just barely slipped out of Excellent Era's grasp in the finals, and after that, Excellent Era had never entered the finals again. Wouldn't Soo Mu-chung's sense of guilt only intensify through the years? Had she always felt that she hadn't helped Ye Xiu enough? This time we'll win for sure, Tang Rou said. Aren't you nervous? Soo Mu-chung asked her with a smile. I thought that I wouldn't get nervous, but now, I'm realizing that's not the case. Tang Rou said. Nervousness. What was that? Up until now, the things that made most people nervous would only make Tang Rou more excited, more determined. But this time, excitement, determination, these were all there, but they weren't enough to completely dispel the nervousness. Tang Rou discovered that her heart still held a sense of fear, and she admitted this. Really? Soo Mu-chung continued to smile. Then that might be a good thing. You know, I always thought that you were too lacking in nervousness. Of course, it's not good to be too nervous, but to not feel nervous at all, that doesn't seem very good either. Even Ye Xiu gets nervous. Tang Rou said. Of course he's nervous. In fact, he's been extremely nervous this whole season. If not, then how could he work so hard and put his full effort into everything? Soo Mu-chung said. I sure couldn't tell. Tang Rou murmured. Nervousness can be turned into action. As for you, you should enjoy this rare feeling of nervousness. For you, this isn't an obstacle at all, this is nourishment, said Soo Mu-chung. This is the method of reducing the stress of playoffs. Change your nervousness into medicine, and eat it. Tang Rou said. WuxRWorldAudio.com. Is this not a good method? Soo Mu-chung said. It looks like that's the only way. Tang Rou said. She essentially understood Soo Mu-chung's meaning. Oh, you two were here this whole time. Quote. At that moment, Ye Xiu with the group of older youth had also returned to the neighborhood. As they walked along the road, they saw the two people sitting on the stone bench. Yup. Soo Mu-chung and Tang Rou stood up, also prepared to return home. Now, almost all of Happy had gathered here. They were just missing Mo Fan, who was still watching videos in the drawing room, and Fang Rui, who they still hadn't seen around. Where in the world did that Fang Rui run off to? Ye Xiu once again wondered. He went to sleep, Soo Mu-chung said. Huh? He came back a bit after 8, and then went to sleep, said Soo Mu-chung. He slept at 8? Everyone exchanged glances. At 8, Ye Xiu, Qiao Yivan, and Wen Yi, and Luo Ji had been watching tonight's match. Wei Chen and Steamed Bun had been sitting beside the road and exchanging bragging stories. Soo Mu-chung and Tang Rou had been strolling through this neighborhood and chatting. And Fang Rui at that time had apparently already gone to bed. Sleeping at 8? How long is that guy planning to sleep? Wei Chen exclaimed. Is this how he's dealing with the pressure? Everyone wondered. Or maybe he's scared that he'll be too nervous to sleep, so that's why he went to bed so early, to have more time to grow tired. They continued to discuss. However, no one was so curious that they would check on whether Fang Rui was actually sleeping. This was the pattern of this night before the competition, everyone dispersing before coming back together in the end. The next morning, when Ye Xiu awoke and came downstairs, he saw none other than Fang Rui. As expected of someone who'd gone to bed at 8, he was full of energy in the living room as he read the newspaper. 301 lost pretty badly. Seeing Ye Xiu come downstairs, Fang Rui greeted him and then made this comment. In his hands was today's edition of Esports Weekly, which he had already gone out to buy this morning. Now that it was playoffs season, the amount of available copies of this newspaper was rather tight, especially since they were near the area of the old Club Excellent era. If you didn't go extremely early, you might not even be able to buy a copy. Yeah, I saw the match, Ye Xiu said. Those old guys from Tyranny are still working hard. Fang Rui said. Well, of course, how could they not? Said Ye Xiu. But the report said that they played kind of defensively. Fang Rui said. Their strategy has a few changes. It's no longer the fiercely fighting and charging Tyranny of before, said Ye Xiu. They're going slower? Fang Rui said. Ye Xiu nodded. They might be our next opponents. It'll be a hard fight, Fang Rui said. Two top-level players didn't need to say much. A few simple sentences was enough to understand the situation. Because Tyranny had many old veterans, from an outsider's perspective it would seem that they weren't suited for a fast tempo. Old veterans were more suited for a steady fight to maximize usage of their experience and patience as they dealt with their opponent. But Tyranny had never used such a style before. They had fiercely fought and charged for 10 years. Yet in the playoffs of this season, they slowed their pace as a whole. Tyranny hadn't just been rotating its old veterans to let them preserve their strength. They'd adjusted their strategies from the very foundation, building a new path that suited them better instead of relying on the rhythm they'd always had. Those old guys aren't the only ones becoming more fearsome, said Ye Xiu. Oh, there's also Zhang Xinji, said Ye Xiu. His style always suited this sort of slow rhythm better. Just looking at playstyle, he and Tyranny don't fit at all, but because of his personality, he could force himself to adapt to tactics that didn't suit him. But now, Tyranny's style is developing in the direction of his true strength. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1390. Team Protection. Audio source, wushouworldaudiobook.com. Chapter 1390, Team Protection. Translator, Gnome Yummy. Editor, Gnome Yummy. In the end, Happy only had a chance of facing Tyranny if they made it through this round. It was a little too early to worry about them now. More urgently, Happy need to focus on playing well in their match against Blue Rain. In this week, apart from familiarizing themselves with their new equipment, Happy actively prepared to face off against Blue Rain. They didn't think about anything else, preparing themselves with only Blue Rain in mind. And now, it was time to bring all of this onto the battlefield. During the regular season, Happy had twice met Blue Rain and lost rather miserably, 1-9 and 2-8. This time, what would Happy use to try and defeat Blue Rain? Today's edition of the Esports Weekly analyzed this question. Esports Weekly, which had become daily issue after the start of playoffs, had its content divided into two topics. One part would focus on the match that had just ended the day before, while the other part would analyze the upcoming match that night. The content was detailed and substantial, and the gamers loved it, but these were busy days for the media workers. From online polls, it seemed that Blue Rain was much more favored to win. About 73% of voters supported them, while only 27% were for Happy. But Happy wouldn't shrink back from such numbers. When they faced Excellent Era in the Challenger League, their support rate had been even more pathetic than this, but so what? If votes determine final results, then there wouldn't be any need for the match at all. Just give the prize after voting finished. On the day of the match, there wouldn't be any more heavy training, but the players still had to touch the computers a bit. There was no way they'd wait until the match began to start warming up, after all. That afternoon, Happy's players all arrived at Happy's training room, each sitting down in front of a computer and opening Glory. Some played rather seriously, while others were more casual and relaxed. They no longer need Yishu to teach them. Warming up before a match, this was something they all had to do during the regular season, too. After going through the season, everyone knew what methods they liked to use to warm up, and so they each did their own thing. And as they steadily adjusted their condition, they watched the minutes and seconds tick by. When it was 5 o'clock, Chen Guo came over to call everyone to dinner. On match days, they generally ate earlier than usual. Right now, only 3 hours were left before the beginning of the match, and the atmosphere was incredibly heavy. Chen Guo only ate a few bites before feeling full, struggling to continue the act. In comparison, the players seemed somewhat more relaxed than her. After they ate, they dispersed to do their own thing, until coming back together at 7 o'clock, when it was time to go to the stadium. Leave Happy Internet Cafe through the back door, cross the road, enter the stadium through the player passageways. Happy had walked this route for an entire season now, but never as seriously as they did now. It was as though every step they took now would affect the final result of this match. The preparation room was already ready, the air conditioning already running to bring it to a comfortable temperature. After everyone entered, they found a seat and sat down, and then they were silent. Too stifling. Chen Guo deeply felt the pressure in the air. At a time like this, she should really say something. Chen Guo looked at Yishu, looked at Wei Chen. These two seniors among seniors would normally take great care in adjusting the team's attitude and atmosphere, so why weren't they saying anything now? Was it because they were also feeling suppressed by this atmosphere? Should I say something? What do I say? Good luck. Relax. There was no point in repeatedly emphasizing these sort of mottos. She should have prepared some jokes. Maybe those would have some effect right now. Chen Guo thought and thought, but she still didn't know what she should say. But at last, Yishu began to speak. Everyone remembers the strategies. Do I need to go over them again? Yishu said. Everyone exchanged glances and silently shook their heads. No one spoke. The key is just spontaneous changes. We have a large advantage there. In terms of typing, I'm sure I can leave Yu Wenzhou behind in the dust. There were a few dry chuckles. Yu Wenzhou, as a pro player, has a completely insufficient hand speed, Yishu said, but he was still able to become an all-star level player. Do you know why? Everyone shook their heads. To be honest, they weren't much in the mood for guessing things like this right now. He plays to his strengths and avoids his weaknesses, said Yishu. Silly, right? Yishu laughed. But this is the truth. In this alliance, there is no one better than him at doing this. This is Yu Wenzhou's style, and this is the strategic style of Team Blue Rain as a whole. Ever since their soul, the person they could never be without, their previous captain Wei Chen retired, Blue Rain has been on the rise. Fuck off. Wei Chen had to interject. Everyone laughed again, and this time it wasn't as strained as before. Since our opponent this round is Blue Rain, I advise you all to learn from our comrade Yu Wenzhou. Avoid your weaknesses and use your strengths. Every one of you, fiercely place your strengths onto this battlefield for all to see. If you can do this, then you won't have a single regret left in your heart. Don't worry if it's not enough. Everyone has their lacking areas, and that's why we're a team. Where one person lacks, the other four come to bolster. This is what it is to be a team. Everyone protects their teammates' backs, and so everyone has someone at their back protecting them. So, rest assured, and charge forward boldly. Happy, it's time to go on stage. Just as Yishu finished speaking, a worker knocked at the door of Happy's prep room, calling them on stage. Let's go, Yishu called, and everyone stood up and walked out of the prep room. Across the hallway, Blue Rain's players were also walking out of their room. The two teams each lined up in the passageway, with the two captains standing at the very front. Because the speech that Yishu had just given had begun with Yu Wenzhou, Happy's members couldn't help but take extra glances at this Blue Rain captain whose hand speed wasn't up to par. Did you guess what ace we have up our sleeve? Yishu, standing at the front of the line, asked Yu Wenzhou. We did not. Yu Wenzhou smiled. He hadn't even bothered to try and guess. I don't mind telling you now, said Yishu. I've been waiting for this moment as well, said Yu Wenzhou. It's equipment, said Yishu. Oh, your myriad manifestations umbrella isn't dragging everyone else down anymore? Yu Wenzhou said. Lord Grimm's umbrella had been level 70 for the entire season. Right now, never mind the core characters, any character with a silver weapon would definitely have their weapon upgraded first, so essentially all of them were now at level 75. For weapons, 70 was practically an extinct number. I should say that you guys will be dragging me down. Yishu laughed. Would it kill you to stop bragging? Quote. At last, the person standing behind Yu Wenzhou could restrain himself no longer. Whoa, how many sentences did we say to each other just now? He actually lasted until now without opening his mouth. Must have been very difficult, huh? Yishu said to Yu Wenzhou with extreme surprise. Ha! Yu Wenzhou could only laugh. What else could he say? Later, when you see it, try not to cry with fear. Yishu turned and said to Huang Shaoshan. Try not to cry when you lose, too. Huang Shaoshan retorted. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. How could I lose? Yishu said loftily. Have some shame. You already lost twice. Huang Shaoshan was referring to the regular season. I didn't lose. Quote. At this time, Yishu abandoned the team he was always talking about. If just talking about himself, he indeed hadn't lost. He had 37 consecutive wins. That was luck. Of course, Huang Shaoshan stubbornly had to continue. How about you get lucky for me to see? I only won 37 in a row. I purposefully left one out. The record's just begging to be broken. Quote. No matter how stubborn Huang Shaoshan was, he didn't dare take up that challenge. Fortunately, right then, the workers signaled to the two teams to begin entering. Let's go. The away team entered first, but Yu Wenzhou didn't forget to acknowledge Yishu as he left before stepping into the stadium proper. For a stadium that wasn't their home stadium, getting polite applause was good enough. Cheers and whatnot, even if their own fans had followed them here, would definitely be suppressed by the home stadium fans. How would the home fans tolerate the visitors going wild on their turf? The stadium lit up with a projection of Swaxar, who did some random movements. The chance to act cool or whatever of course wouldn't be given to the away team characters. It was good enough that they didn't bash them. The live announcer gave some cursory introduction for Yu Wenzhou, before calling up the next on stage. Huang Shaoshan immediately came up, and his treatment was about the same as what Yu Wenzhou received. This sort of thing was commonplace, and it happened at everyone's home stadiums. Blue Rain's players had seen the world, so of course this wouldn't bother them. One by one the players came out and up onto the stage. And then when it was time for Happy, the sound was immediately different. The moment that Yishu walked out of the passageway, the shouting and cheering instantly filled the entire stadium. In the projection, Lord Grimm displayed the many changes of the myriad manifestations umbrella, while Yishu waved to the audience members on all sides. Even the amount of time that was given was different from what Blue Rain got. As for the introduction, they only wished they could describe all of his glorious accomplishments in the most extravagant way possible. One by one, Happy's players walked onto the stage, and then they shook hands and parted. Two people were left, undoubtedly the first players of the group arena, too lazy to leave and then come back. Yishu, it's Yishu. Commentator Pan Lin was already shouting excitedly. Yishu was actually Happy's first player in the group arena. It was already the playoffs, and he still wanted to go on first. Before the match, practically no one had predicted this arrangement. With Yishu's unparalleled 1v1 ability, everyone logically expected that he would be fourth in the lineup. But now, he was the first one. As for Blue Rain, the first one up was the Chi Master Song Shao. Their Mr. Clutch was thrown into first slot in the group arena. What sort of plans and hopes were behind that choice? After greeting each other, the two headed to their own competitor booths. Happy actually sent Yishu as the first player in the group arena. Pan Lin marveled. This is completely unexpected. Coach Lee, what do you think about this? I would think that this is mostly to boost Happy's morale. Happy has a lot of rookies, after all, and this is their first time in the playoffs. The pressure is definitely high. If Yishu goes first, he can get a win and raise their spirits, as well as lessen the responsibility of those after him. I think that's Happy's plan, Li Yibo said, doing his best to speculate. In chapter
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1391, Level 80. Audio source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1391, Level 80. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. The two players entered their booths and their characters loaded in. The match was about to begin. That was when some sort of uproar erupted amongst the in-stadium audience, and then, the live broadcast commentator Pan Lin also suddenly yelled, "No way! What?" Li Yibo was puzzled. The character loading was always the same, so he didn't pay attention. Pan Lin hesitated. Just now, in the character loading screen, when it reached Lord Grimm, his equipment flashed by and Pan Lin thought that he had seen an 80 in the level section. However, it had just been flash, and he wasn't sure what he had seen exactly. The character loading screen was a fixed shot, there wouldn't be any special shots. Thus, Pan Lin didn't say anything, just hurriedly asking the cameraman to display Lord Grimm's equipment as soon as they entered the match. The uproar that had briefly occurred at Happy's home stadium was also because some people had seen level 80 on Lord Grimm's equipment. Just one or two people, then it might just be that they misread, but then those people who thought they misread realized that quite a few people were misreading today. The characters loaded in quickly, and before the audience had figured out what was going on, it had finished and the characters spawned on the map, symbolizing the start of the match. The live broadcast immediately displayed Lord Grimm's equipment. Boom. The audience exploded. This time, the entire audience could clearly see it, equipment level 80. And it wasn't just for one piece of equipment either. Weapon, Myriad Manifestations Umbrella. Top, Dissonant Soul Armor. Shoes, Cloudbreaker Boots. Belt, Chain Lightning Belt. Cape, Civil Dawn. Badge, Sky Splitter. Right ring, Hurricane. Of Lord Grimm's equipment, these 7 pieces of silver equipment were level 80. Lord Grimm has level 80 equipment equipped. What's going on? Quote. This time, Pan Lin could see it clearly, and didn't have to suspect that he had gotten it wrong, meaning that he was free to yell about it. Li Yibo was also completely struck dumb. Level 80 equipment. What the hell? There was no need to even mention the audience. The stadium was naturally a cacophony of confusion. Everyone was first shocked into speechlessness, then they exploded into discussion. Even the referee wasn't spared. When he saw the level 80 equipment, his brain practically short-circuited. Then, his first thought after that was to wonder if something had gone wrong with the system. Did they need to pause the match? Then, Blue Rain's players were also stunned upon seeing the level 80 equipment. Level 80 equipment. What's going on? Huang Shaoshan expressed his bewilderment. Though it wasn't to the point where he would cry from fear, he had to admit that the Yizhu had truly managed to shock them this time. Yu Wenzu clearly hadn't been expecting that improvements to their equipment would be a level increase to 80. However, after a moment of shock, he began to organize his thoughts. Is it a system error? The other members of Blue Rain all wondered. However, Yu Wenzu didn't think so. The equipment and system would all be checked before the match, to make sure that the match would go smoothly. It wasn't like there hadn't been small errors with the hardware before, but errors in data hadn't occurred once since the start of the alliance, so why now? The characters are level 75, that's for certain. Yu Wenzu took his mind off of those incidents and began to analyze this logically. For level 75 characters to equip level 80 equipment, then there must be a level requirement -5 stat on the equipment. Yu Wenzu swiftly thought of this. However, how they created these pieces of level 80 equipment is a complete mystery. Of course, Yu Wenzu wouldn't know. If he did, then Blue Rain would have level 80 equipment, too. Happy's R&D is that skilled. Huang Shaoshan exclaimed in shock. Level 80 equipment was enough to leave all the powerhouses in the dust. Discussion had erupted everywhere. After Yu Wenzu, commentators Pan Lin and Li Yibo soon figured out that these pieces of level 80 equipment had a level requirement -5 stat, making them usable, which was relatively obvious. However, after that, no one could say how Happy managed to create level 80 equipment under a level 75 level limit. So this is the ace that Happy had prepared for the playoffs. Pan Lin exclaimed in the broadcast. Level 80 equipment. How? The match continued. After confirming that nothing had gone wrong with the software or hardware, he didn't have a reason to pause it. Currently, Song Xiao, on the field, had also found out that his opponent had level 80 equipment and was naturally shocked. Afraid yet? Yizhu asked. Even so, it doesn't mean that I can back down. Song Xiao replied. As expected of the most renowned clutch player of the alliance, Mr. Clutch. Against Yizhu, who had won 37 consecutive individual matches this season. Against this shocking reveal of level 80 equipment, Song Xiao expressed his shock but soon calmed. Afraid? Back down? He was just joking around. In reality, he was treating this like any other match, focused on taking victory. Let's go then. Yizhu called out and then the two charged forwards. The group arena map choice naturally couldn't only consider Yizhu's needs. A clean, simple map would be great for him and Tang Rou, but for those like Fang Rui who relied on dirty play, then it would be a huge trouble. Thus, the group arena map had to make sure to take care of everyone's needs, so it'd usually contain a variety of terrains. However, it didn't seem like either of the two participants had any intentions to use the terrain. The two were heading directly for the center. Just as they were about to meet, with everyone eagerly anticipating how this level 80 equipment would perform spectacularly, Yizhu's Lord Grim suddenly swerved. Yizhu, having maintained a straightforward and brute force style for 37 rounds, suddenly decided to switch to being strategic in the first one-on-one match of the playoffs. Yizhu has decided against a frontal confrontation. Pan Lin noted. A wise choice. Li Yiba commented. The group arena is different from individual matches. One must defeat their opponent with minimal cost to oneself, so, if possible, it's better to use the environment and play strategically. Brute force styles aren't actually the most suited to group arenas. In individual matches, their victories will be victories no matter if they take down an opponent with great cost or if they manage to take down an opponent without losing a drop of health. WashOurWorldAudio.com. However, in the group arena, these two results are completely different. But many teams still have brute force style players in the group arena lineup. It doesn't seem like anyone avoids having a play in the group arena, Pan Lin brought up. Brute force is a style that players use, but it's not set in stone. In the group arena, brute force style players can play a little more wisely. Like Yi Xiu, for the individual competitors, he kept a brute force style, but now with the group arena, he's decided to be a little more flexible. Li Yibo said. But some players seem to stick with using brute force even in the group arena, Pan Lin argued. Yep. After all, everything has its exceptions. Different situations will require different attitudes. Li Yibo said. The two stopped their conversation there. Currently, Yi Xiu's Lord Grim had swerved left, heading towards Song Xiu's right flank. However, since Yi Xiu only swerved after the two had seen each other, Song Xiu knew exactly where Lord Grim had gone and was already keeping an eye on that side. Yi Xiu didn't act like many dirty play pros did, hiding away and waiting for a chance. From an opening on that side, Lord Grim peeked around the corner and boom boom boom, 3 anti-tank missiles came blasting over. Song Xiu had his eyes on that side and he saw Lord Grim just as he peeked out. The 3 anti-tank missiles couldn't even count as a sneak attack, yet. Boom. Receding Tides actually got hit by one of the missiles. The force of the explosion threw him back a few steps, but Receding Tides soon stabilized himself. He did it on purpose. Li Yibo immediately realized, oh, he's testing Lord Grim's attack power. Li Yibo explained. Too many pieces of equipment had been changed, causing a huge shift in stats. Though the base 4 stats could still be seen, they need experience to get an understanding of Lord Grim's attack power. Song Xiu had a good grasp on the consequences of getting hit by this attack, and at the same time, he was giving the rest of Blue Rain information. In the future, they'll continue to face Yi Xiu's Lord Grim, so they had to hurry and collect data. Lord Grim switched out several pieces of equipment at once, very effective. All the data that the teams collected on him during the regular season is pretty much useless now. Everything will have to start from scratch. Pan Lin mentioned. What's even more troublesome is that the Myriad Manifestations umbrella clearly has different stats depending on the form, Li Yibo added. Happy really has dropped quite the bomb. Pan Lin said. Right now, we just don't know if only Lord Grim has seen such improvements or if all the characters in Happy have, Li Yibo continued. We'll know soon enough. Pan Lin seemed rather excited. After Yi Xiu let Lord Grim attack, he hid again. Li Yibo returned to the match. Song Xiu isn't rushing either. Is he trying to figure out Lord Grim's attack power? Advisor Li, what do you think of this attack? Pan Lin asked. The attack's damage has clearly gone up. Li Yibo said. This season made him feel more and more that he was falling behind. He was preparing to do some revision and further study. Actually, it was very hard to get much from a single attack. This was something decided by both the attack power of the attacker and the defense of the target. Li Yibo was like the audience, he didn't know the actual stats of the characters, so it would be impossible to ask him to deduce much from a single strike. Team Blue Rain's members at least knew their teammates' character's defense, and they could derive the attack from the damage taken. As for the other spectators, in their eyes, there would be 100 different damage calculations from Lord Grim fighting 100 different opponents. it would be extremely difficult to figure out Lord Grimm's actual attack power. Though Li Yibo was studying up, he couldn't figure out something so difficult in such a short time, unless a team was willing to provide their stats. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible. So, he could only say that Lord Grimm's damage had increased, which was clearly unnecessary. If his attack power hadn't changed, then what would the point of switching in all that level 80 equipment? End chapter.